We have with us tonight Miss Angela Peters, who is going to fill us in on the dynamic martial art everyone is talking about, Aikido. Miss Peters is an expert at Aikido with over 20 years of experience and runs a large successful school in downtown Metropolis. Good evening, Miss Peters.
Good evening, Larry.
Why should people be interested in Aikido?
You have to stay in shape somehow, Larry. Why not develop self-defense skills and practice something useful, with more depth to it than lifting weights or running on a machine?
What's useful about Aikido?
Aside from being effective for self-defense, it develops physical fitness, coordination, balance, and concentration. It also reduces stress, and it's a social activity. It's not just a physical activity, it is so much more. It completely breaks the martial arts paradigm you may be familiar with. The way it is practiced also tends to bring people together, rather than creating rivalries or enemies.
How is it different from, say, karate, jiu-jitsu, or mixed martial arts?
Larry, the key aspect is that it is non-competitive in nature. We are not there to fight or win by violence.
Excuse me, Miss Peters, but that sounds like horse poo.
I know it's paradoxical that such an effective martial art could reject the notion of violent reprisal. But that is exactly the genius of Aikido. The principle of non-resistance, if implemented properly, is simply unbeatable.
How does it work then?
Well, when you are attacked, the first step is to move your body. You do not stand toe-to-toe and trade blows. You time your evasive body movement with the attack. And that starts the technique.
Okay, you move, then what?
Then you redirect the attack and create a specific situation. At this point you are either behind them, or out of the way of the attack, and the attacker is momentarily a bit confused, and looking for how to attack you again.
I see, so you've moved, and they start to follow you?
More or less. The important thing is at that point, they start to respond to you, rather than the other way around. It's called leading.
Okay, then what?
Next, you employ a specific technique. This is a very important point. You do not decide which technique ahead of time, you have to respond to the type of attack you are dealing with. It has to be spontaneous.
That sounds hard. How do you do that?
Well, you have to train for some time with a number of techniques, repetitively, until these specific responses become second nature. Like breathing or walking.
So it becomes almost automatic?
Yes, but not in a mechanical way. It has to spontaneously respond and blend with the attack. For example, it may be a wrist lock, a strike, a choke, or a takedown with an armbar.
Wait a minute. I thought you weren't going to hurt them or compete with them.
That's right. Even the strikes are generally used to control their movement, not to injure them, although in every Aikido technique, damaging and dangerous strikes are built in, and you have the option of using them, if you have to. But you would rather not. And similarly, the joint locks can be damaging, but usually the more someone struggles, the more painful it is, and eventually they give up.
Wow. That sounds like some pretty powerful stuff. Now the question, everyone always want to know, how do you know it really works?
Well, there's a lot of ways. First of all, we take turns as attacker and defender, and get to experience the effectiveness directly. Believe me, they work. Then there is the fact that police officers and corrections officers often train in Aikido. They like the controlling movements, and the fact that they can subdue a perp without injuring them. They have to answer for any injury they inflict on the job, and can be held liable if excessive force is used.
And are there war stories?
Sure, lots. Almost every school has students who have yet to use Aikido on the street, and they know it works. We also get challenges at the dojo occasionally, usually practitioners from other arts who join and test things out. They are usually amazed. If they give it half a chance with an open mind, they see the power of Aikido and are convinced. Believe me, the first time you feel a real Nikyo or Sankyo hold, you'll be convinced too.
I've also heard that people practice the martial arts for mental discipline. Does Aikido have that?
Yes, it's one of the main points. You have to control your mind, specifically, where you place your attention during the movements. The mind moves the body, Larry, and if you can control your mind's activity and attention, you can control your movement, and, surprisingly, you can also control the movement of your opponent.
That sounds like hocus pocus. How can you control them using your mind?
It's a higher level concept, Larry, but it happens. If you can direct your attention, and not get caught up in the fighting but stay calm, keep your body relaxed, and in movement they can't get a fix on you. It's like trying to fight a bowl of noodles, or water. But if you've ever been caught in a riptide or strong undertow, you know how powerful a fluid movement from the underside can be. Before you know it you go flying, and can't do anything about it. That's what real, high-level Aikido is like. A force of nature.
That sounds exciting and much deeper than it looks on the surface.
Exactly.
Now, I have to ask, being a woman, does that make Aikido a good choice for you as a martial art? Does gender make a difference?
Well, there are some considerations. For example, typically a woman is physically smaller than, and has less brute strength than a man. For this reason, Aikido is a particularly good choice for women, because the movements and techniques rely much less on physical strength than on timing, position, and proper technical execution. And women in general do seem to learn Aikido quite well. The flowing movements and lack of macho competitiveness seem to resonate with them.
Okay, Aikido, good for men and women, so, if someone was interested, how would they start?
Contact your local Aikido school, and ask to come in, and watch a class. Do your homework, and make sure it's a school with affiliation to a large parent organization and the Hombu Dojo in Japan, and you can also check the lineage of the main teacher, and make sure it leads back to O-sensei.
O-sensei?
Yes, he was the founder of Aikido back in the 1940s. At that time he was considered by many to be the most respected and undefeatable martial artist in Japan.
Well, thanks very much, Miss Peters, for telling us about the fascinating martial art of Aikido. And see you all next time.
Thanks for the opportunity, Larry. See you all later.
That Aikido sounds really cool. I think I'm going to try it.
I think you like it.